Hello, everybody. This is Xenoside Genius here. This is not really how I talk, so let's start that over. Hey guys, it's Xeno here. That's really not how I talk either, but we're going to do a quick little build guide. The one-take builds. What we got going on right now is the Mana Tank. I even got the name. How cool is that? Edgy. Remember, first off, I want to say sorry, Noogie. You were right. The Hierophant actually has some uses, and I was wrong, so shit. However, I still think he's pretty underpowered and needs some buffs. So I bow down to you, Mr. Noogie. I am humble myself. Continuing on, what is the Mana Tank? Well, first off, I'm using Incinerate and mana-based type things like Mind over Matter. When hit, 30% of your damage is taken from mana before life. So just to clarify, that means that I have to play both a life build and a mana build. Not energy shield. Do we see energy shield in here? No. So if you're thinking about going CI, Mind over Matter, it doesn't work. It says from damage taken from mana before life. So you have to go through all of that. Yes, you have one life, you're going to die. Anyways, so it is a life mana build. Paired up with the Hierophant's 10%. Alright, so now we're at 40 with big fatty 100 flat mana. And then we got ourselves the Eiler Dex, a use for this. Alright, so the Eiler Dex gives us +1 power charge, life and mana. That's the kind of build we're playing. My power charges are changed now, kind of like the Blood Dance or any other type of gimmick like that where it changes up what your charges do. So the downside of this is 40% reduced critical strike chance per power charge. They normally give 50% increased critical strike chance per power charge. So this is saying, hey man, you're no longer going to be critting as much in your build, or you're going crit and your power charges aren't going to be as good. The next thing is 1% damage is taken from mana before life. So on the normal tree plus helping Illyria, you can get 7 power charges. Plus this is 8. Void batteries is 10. We'll go into Void battery here in a bit. Increased mana regeneration rate from power charges. So with 10 power charges, I get 100% increased mana regeneration. That's nuts. So with 10 power charges, this puts me at a 50% mind over matter type effect. It is additive. It's awesome. Cool stuff. So what would pair up very well with the Eiler Dex? Because they're reducing my crit, I said I'm going to go Incinerate. Incinerate did receive a series of nerfs, but I think it's still pretty viable late game. I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just not LOL OP, look at everything dying. It's still very strong, and you can make a completely good, viable build out of it. I decided to go, instead of the elemental route, the fire pen, elemental overload, I decided to go the added chaos route. Added chaos. So the main reason I chose added chaos is if I go elemental overload and I'm using void batteries and I crit, I'm generating my power charges late game through Ramira's Banquet. Ramira's Banquet gives me mana. Let me just show what it does. Boo, 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 boo. I got a really nice one too. I got a perfect corrupt on it. That corrupt, 3% of damage taken gained is mana. Not damage will go to mana before life, but I take damage, gives me mana back. Hey, that works very well with what I'm doing. Gives me flat mana and then a bunch of shit with crit and accuracy. We don't use in any of that. So ignore all the crit and mana leech and stuff like that. But it does give me flat mana and gains power charges on non-critical strike. So if I don't crit, I gain power charges. Power charges are going to give me the Eiler Dex, Mind over Matter type effect. And with Void Battery, they're going to give me a lot. And I mean a lot of damage. However, I lose them all when I do crit. So I never thought I'd be saying this. I'm making a Ramira's Banquet RT build without Cold Snap. Wow, I never thought this would happen. So I want to keep my power charges because if we go here, let me pull this up real quick for you. Void Battery. Void Battery works very, very well with this build because I'm playing a non-crit build. Sadly, this crit does sad face. However, it gives mana, +1 power charge. So now with dual wielding these, we get 10 power charges. We're also in a league where these are going for 60 chaos, not 12 exalteds, not 50 exalteds like Onslaught League. They also give a ton of cast speed, which is what Incinerate needs since it can't use Spell Echo anymore. You got to get cast speed everywhere. 25% increased spell damage per power charge. If I have 10 power charges, that's 250 per. For everyone who doesn't know basic math, 25 times 10 is 250. And then we're going to have 2 of those. What? So 500 up to 40% spell damage, which you could easily get Blesseds. Sweet. Minus, however, 160. That's fine. No big deal. So just from Void Batteries alone, we're getting 380% increased spell damage. That's great use of the non-crit power charge change that we have going on. Also around 100 mana, but the mana roll isn't nearly as important as the cast speed roll. This could be as low as possible, we don't mind. Now, on the skill tree, we also have this guy, I'm coincidentally picking up next level, 4% increased spell damage per power charge. So that will put me at 40%. So just from power charges alone, and the implicit on my void batteries, I got 420 spell damage increase. Alright, that's really cool. It's really cool, man. Perhaps we could pick up the Blaze node, but they removed it. Damn, that would work really well with this Incinerate build. I'm a fire build after all, right? Kappa. So that's why I went with no Elemental Overload, no Elemental Focus, and we're going with Added Chaos instead. That's why I chose to do that. Projectile speed will hurt, however, because I am not using a wand with projectile speed. I'm not using faster proj. Instead, I'll use a couple jewels with faster proj. That will be my fix. I could use Winds of Change, but instead I think I'm going to go with Surge Binders. If I can afford it, if I have enough mana and all that good stuff, we'll go with Surge Binders, PoE. These give a lot of damage too. I'll get up to 7% spell damage per power charge. That's 70%. And I could get some elemental damage per frenzy charge. I'll be using Blood Rage. Now, my biggest beef, my biggest problem with mana type builds is that they're always rolled on energy shield. Like, in order for a piece of gear to roll mana, excluding accessories, it has to be on a piece of gear with energy shield. Energy shield sucks as a life mana build because Blood Rage, it just gives you more degen. RF, it gives you more degen. It really doesn't do anything unless you're hybrid, low life, CI, something of the sort. So I was like, maybe I'll just pick up Mind Over Matter and Eldritch Battery. So the reason why I decided to get EB in this build is I'm not going to go Ghost Reaver. I'm not going to sustain it at all. I just don't want to even mess with it. Because if I run Val Discipline, I run Eldritch Battery, and I'm playing on a mana type character, I'm going to naturally get ES. And then I pick up this node, which sadly is bugged and doesn't scale properly. I'll still get a lot of ES from it. My Blood Rage won't screw me over as much. It will hurt me a little bit in Labyrinth, but it would hurt me anyways because it's already on my life pool. But this extra ES will allow me to have a buffer. When I start to take damage and lose mana in that mana tank perspective, I pop Val Discipline. So my mana cost is coming from my Val Discipline, which is just regenerating. The damage I'm taking is coming from the energy shield of Sanctuary Thought and Val Discipline. That will give me a chance to regenerate the mana that I am missing. So it's pretty good. Whereas if I'm running Blood Rage on health, my energy shield will never do anything. It'll just disappear and that'll be it. So running Eldritch Battery with Sanctuary of Thought, without even trying to sustain it, would be pretty good for this Mind Over Matter build. And along the way, I end up getting mana regeneration and mana regeneration rate. This, sadly, is just a fluff node. I might not even get it. You get 4% increased damage per enemy you killed by me, my totems. I might just drop it and pick up more mana regen or one of these. I guess I get power charge duration or something. Mana regenerate. It's really awkward. Like Hierophant just needs some work, but either damage or just more mana type gimmicks. All right, so let's continue going on the build theory because we're just halfway through it. All right. So now I'm using Essence Worm so I could get Anger for free. And if I'm getting Anger for free, I have 1,600 mana currently at level 50 for a freaking health pool. How awesome is that shit? How am I sustaining my health and mana? Well, obviously mana regeneration, but Warlord's Mark attached to my Orb of Storms. So I drop the Orb of Storms, it puts Warlord's Mark, which has life and mana leech on it. Good stuff. And I can't use Blasphemy because I want my mana pool. I want to have my mana pool. And also, guess what? The secondary portion of Clear Mind is now useful. I get the spell damage, 60% spell damage when I'm not reserving mana. And finally, that mana regeneration is useful. Usually this is like, well, I'm blood magic, screw it, put it in. Now I get mana regen useful out of it too. So it's like the synergy of this build, it just keeps going and going and going, where it's like, hey, this weird gimmick build is probably going to be successful. But wait, there's more. I'm Billy Mays here. Spirited Response. It's the Rallying Cry jewel. Because I'm using Warlord's Mark to generate endurance charges, I no longer need Enduring Cry. And instead, I could use Spirited Response with Rallying Cry. It gives mana percent, hey! And also, 10% of the damage I take will be gained as mana. So now on top of the Isler decks, Mind Over Matter, Hierophant 50%, the Wombo combo there, I could pair this up with Spirited Response to gain my mana back, plus my Romira's 3%, which I think could go as high as 6, and I could corrupt my Ilerdex to get another 6% damage taken, gain his mana back. So now we're taking damage that goes to mana, but then I take damage which gained his mana, and it's just like, what? And all this mana regeneration, full mana, I still get anger, I have all this spell damage, I don't care that I'm not crit, it all works together. I have no idea what my life and mana will be late game, but in my current tree I have around 200% life, about 150% increased mana, and the Void Batteries will wipe my butt, plus the spell damage for Power Charge, Surge Binders. I will actually have a really high amount of damage from this build. Let's do a quick gameplay of this. I'm still not sure about Surge Binders. Like, there's only so many uniques you could use in a build. Where was I at? Oh, hopefully my portal didn't disappear. Please no. Please no. Fuck. Feels bad, man. Come on, let's go. Obviously there's gonna be like ribbons and crap here, so we can't really show too much of the showcase because I'm way too freaking tanky. This is only cruel difficulty. The reason why I'm making this video, this is hopefully more of a 3-part video series. I still have the Whispering Ice characters, which I will give an update on. The Ice Crasher is level 91 now. All my other builds are still alive with the exception of the... Actually, I think that's it. I think all my builds are still alive, so... Oh, no, my RF guy died. So my RF guy died. Don't expect an update on that. But, yeah, like, I don't know. These are ribbons. This is a bad example of the amount of damage I could take. Like, if we could find a Perandus back. Like, as soon as I take damage, it's regenerated from the Warlord's Mark, Mana Regen, Ilerdex, like, everything just super works. The Rallying Cry, which... Oh, here we go. So we'll just stand right here. This is without... It's no problem. And it gets stupid. It's going to get stupid because of all the extra combinations I'm going to be throwing into the mix here. Like, I could just stand still and tank it. Remember, Val Discipline plus that ES node will give me my mana back because I'm taking all the damage from ES instead of mana. My mana will be able to regenerate back. It's like my oh shit button. So there's going to be a lot of awesome things to see with this build. I chose Lightning Golem because cast speed with the nerf to Spell Echo with Incinerate. I need to get to the 3rd stage as quick as I possibly can, so cast speed's very important. Plus, he looks edgy, man. He looks really cool. I mean, he's like the Terminator of golems. I hate standing on Ice Shot. It makes me sad. And the coolest, most hipster thing about this build is your power charges turn purple with the Ilerdex. What? So now I got these cool swag power charges. I mean, that alone is worthy of playing this build. You could also do this with the Trickster. Instead of getting the 10% Mom, you get as Hierophant. Instead, you get the Walk the Aether, I think it's called, where you get the mana regen back per cast. Right now, I'm using Storm Prison to generate my power charges. So if you do decide to play this build, use this Fluff Wand. Sadly, it gets +1 power charge, which is nice, and 31% chance to gain a power charge on kill. Everything else is useless. Well, the mana regen's okay. But this is like an attack-based one, but it's generating me my power charges, so I was able to goof around with this build early enough. My damage was never really bad. Right now it's mediocre, but obviously I'm not wearing my dual Void Batteries with all that power charge gimmick stuff yet. Currently I just have a random Fluff Wand and the Storm Prison. I will do an update video. The next guide I do on this build, I will have the hopefully dual Void Batteries on, as well as the Romira's. And we'll test out Surge Binders. We'll see if it's good enough for the end game dealio. Cheers, guys! If you have any questions, if I forgot anything at all in this build, don't forget to ask me in the comments below. And the next time you see this, I'm going to be level 52 in a red map. Maybe do Uber Itziri as well while doing the red map at the same time. I've also done Rigvald with this build about 8 times too, so it is Rigvald viable. And I found a glitch where I could use Whirling Blades with wands. This is all been brought to you by the message of Kappa. So make sure you support your local Kappa. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers.